We're rolling now.
Yay.
How are you, Kaitie?
I'm good. Yeah. It was a long drive and I'm glad to not be driving now and chilling in your place and having a beer.
Yeah. We can give
Sitting
a nice cheers. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
You are a very, very, very busy musician.
Yes, I am.
I was reading about you and I was like, wow, like she's insane. In the best way, of course.
Yeah, actually, like I'm so busy that my doctor last week like told me to like just take the rest of the week off, like just to like chill, because it's like so busy that I don't have a lot of time, like downtime.
Yeah.
So it's good and bad, I guess, but mainly good because I'm doing like what I love and I like being busy. I was reluctant to take those days off, but at the same time, it was really nice, especially because it was sunny on the weekend. And so like just went for some walks and like hung out in my yard with my dog and like it was like really chill. So
nice.
Yeah.
Good on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You deserve it. So I know you started playing music since you were very young. You started at 8, but so you're a bass player.
Yeah.
But you started playing the piano and singing.
Yeah, that was kind of what I started with, was piano and reluctantly singing. I always hated singing when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
You have a podcast about it now, though.
I know. Well, I've done like a complete 180. Like I used to hate singing and now I really like it. So.
Yeah, I guess it does. Like, yeah, once you start like growing up, there's a lot of things that you're like, why did I hate it when I was like younger?
Yeah.
So how did that happen? How did that transition happen? Like, why did you hate it and why did you start singing if you hated it?
I hated it because I was like really shy and introverted when I was a kid, and I like didn't want to be like, I didn't want people to like to be in the spotlight, you know, which is like what the singer is.
Yeah.
And so anything like that, like it was also like when I played piano, people would be like, oh, like take a solo. And I'd be like, no, I don't want to. Like, I didn't want to be in like the center of attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was always really like that, like for like most of my childhood. And then it was like when I was an adult, like I was playing in like all these bands and stuff, and then I decided at one point that I wanted to take a break from playing in bands. So I quit like all the bands I was in, and then I was just like, okay, I'm taking a break. But then I realized that like I still wanted to do something musical. So I started going off on like a tangent of songwriting to keep myself busy, like occupied with music things. And that basically was like the start of my sort of like career as a songwriter. And you know, at the beginning I was like really, really nervous to like, I would write songs and I would record them like just at home, like, you know, and I would sing them and whatever. But then like when it came time to like showing like people my songs, I was like really nervous again because of the singing. And I was like, oh, like, you know, like
how do I do this without being in the spotlight?
Yeah, like I just had so much like anxiety about it. And like I remember like I showed one of my friends like one of the songs that I wrote, and when I like pressed play and then I like left the room because I didn't want to like see his reaction.
Yeah.
But you know, like I always got like really good feedback about my singing, like, and then eventually actually, when I was writing that or producing that podcast about singing, I was taking some singing lessons, and I took like almost like 2 years of singing lessons. And that also really, really helped a lot because that kind of gave me like the confidence to sing and kind of feel like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because that was like part of the problem is like I have so much training on the bass and on piano and all that, but I didn't really have any training as a vocalist. So I felt a little bit like of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like I still, you know,
you were doing things intuitively, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. But, yeah, I was. But because I am a musician, like I brought a lot of knowledge already to singing. Like, for example, like, like singing in tune is like fairly easy for me because I already have a good ear, right?
Yeah.
I developed my ear from playing other instruments and stuff. So yeah, it some things, and some things came naturally. And then, like I said, like I have been singing for like my whole life, but it was just not really until I was an adult that I actually started to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
yeah.
And then how did you like get involved in music at that young age? Was it because do you come from a family of musicians or?
Yeah, my dad was a blues musician, and he's still alive. I said was because he's not really playing that much anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, he, like when I was a kid, he was like the one gigging like crazy, and I would go, you know, watch his gigs and stuff. And he played in a blues band, so he was the one that like got me put me into music lessons for piano. And I was also doing like flute in school and, you know, all the like school band stuff. So yeah, he was the one that like got me into it. And actually at the beginning, I didn't really like piano either because it felt like a chore or something for me. It's like, oh, you have to like practice your piano now. And I always practiced the piano in the garage, and it was always like freezing in the garage. So I was like, I really don't want to. Yeah. So it was like something that definitely like music definitely like grew on me as I got older. And then I kind of like learned to love it. Definitely when I switched to bass, I started really loving music a lot more than when I was playing piano.
When did you switch to bass?
When I was like a teenager, like maybe, I don't know, 12 or 13, something. Yeah, I like got to a point with piano where it was just like, okay, like I just like don't want to do this anymore. Like I just don't really like it.
You got bored.
Yeah. And like that whole chore feeling. So I was like, I'm gonna like, you know, stop playing music altogether, or I have to find like a different instrument. And one of the things I didn't like about piano was because I always felt like I played in a band when I played piano, but I always felt like I was like kind of like on top of the music, like on top of the rest of the band, like sort of this extra thing. I didn't really feel like I was like in like the foundation of the music, and I really wanted to have to feel that way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was looking for. So I was deciding between like bass, drums, and guitar, basically, and I ended up picking the bass because my piano teacher also was a bass player. So it was kind of like I could keep with the same teacher and whatever. So
like feel comfortable, like because she already knows you, or
and just like I wouldn't have to find like a new teacher or whatever. And so I switched to bass, and yeah, I really liked it like way more. And it was actually like what I was looking for. It's totally like the foundation of the music, and and it suited my personality better because, again, I was like super shy and I didn't want to be in the spotlight, and like the bass player is kind of usually, like in the background, just chilling. And so, yeah, it worked out really well. And that's probably why I still play it, because it was just a better fit for me. So.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then like, so you started playing bass, and then once you were like more of an adult, you were like, okay, I really want to sing. When did you decide to go to LA to study? Like when was the moment like, okay, now I just want to do music. I really want to live out of this and study this.
Yeah, so that was also when I was a teenager. When I switched to bass, I auditioned pretty much right away to play in like a Motown band.
Oh, yeah.
And I got in. And so again, like I think because of all those years playing piano, picking up the bass was like kind of quick for me because I already could read music. I already, kind of understood music theory, blah, blah, blah. So I was able to just pick up the bass pretty quickly and audition for this band. And then I got into the band. And so it was when I started playing in that band, and we were quite busy, like gigging a lot. And so I kind of got like a taste of like the musician's lifestyle, like, playing gigs and like, just spending so much time with your bandmates and
crazy hours.
Like getting to go on tour and just like being immersed in that environment for a bit. And I kind of like fell in love with it. And I was like, oh my God, like I want to do this. I want to do this
every day.
Yeah, for real. And and then so I was living in Victoria at the time, and so I started looking around for like, a music program that I could do at the post-secondary level. But Victoria, UVic only has like a classical program. And my musical background is not classical at all. So I was like, okay, well, I can't really go to UVic. And so I was just like looking around, and like one of my friends in Victoria, who is also a bass player, was like, oh, you should check out this place in LA. And it's called the Musicians Institute. It's like really amazing. It'd be perfect for you, blah, blah, blah. So I started looking into it. And then eventually I went down to LA to just check it out and just like check LA out, because I'd never been there.
Yeah.
And, I was just like, well, this seems
like figure out what it would be like if you were to decide.
Yeah. And I just like was like, this seems awesome. Like it was also like I wanted to sort of travel and like maybe live in a different country and just, that kind of experience that you want to do when you're younger. So it felt like, like a good thing to do, to move to somewhere completely different than Victoria and just study music. And it was a really fun time of my life. And I lived in Hollywood, which I still like when I think about like you, I'm like, oh wow, you guys live in Gastown, but it's like I lived in Hollywood. It's like way more crazy. So way more crazy.
I can imagine. It's like probably like 100 times. Yeah, everything's like 100 times more.
Yeah. But it was fun, and I'm glad I did it. I have like, still a lot of friends from LA that I'm in touch with, and a lot of, if not most of like the opportunities that I have gotten like for music, like a lot of them started in music school, like the people that you meet, and then like your peers and stuff like that, like everyone goes on to like start doing their stuff project, and you end up like kind of collaborating with each other, or like finding opportunities for each other, or like just a lot of the opportunities that I've gotten have been just from going to music school. So it's really cool.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
And did you did you have a specific experience with people? I don't know if it would be like that, but where you're in class and like I know this happens when you're a kid, because it happened to me a lot, and you just go into like the classroom like first day, and then you see someone that you sort of vibe already, just because I don't know what it is, like maybe it's just like how they're dressed, or their smile or whatever, and you're like, maybe they can be my friend, and like and then it turns out it's true, and then you're like, oh, we have like the same kind of like interest or whatever. Did that kind of thing happen to you when you were in music school? Like once you got in, you were like, oh, I feel like that person could be my friend, and then you ended up collaborating with them. And
yeah, I mean, well, like I was saying, I was always very shy and introverted. I think moving to LA also really helped with that part of myself, because it put me out of my comfort zone, and I had to like make friends and to
survive, because it was a new place.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had to like be outgoing, and like I was also really like inspired by the American culture, and like how they're like just so much more like outgoing and like personable in a way than like Canadians are. And so it almost like made my it was really nice to just experience like a lot of people say Canada and the US are the same, but like we do have like a little different culture. And for me it was really refreshing to be in that type of culture, because it showed me like a different perspective. And like I said, it kind of got me out of my shell. So definitely like at the beginning, I was kind of like my normal self, like shy and introverted. And like just, I really wanted to just keep my head down and just like work and, on my studies and, get better at my instrument and all of that kind of thing. But then like as time went on, I started to realize that that's only part of it, right? Yeah. Because if you don't make those connections, that's the other half that gets you, your success. Like, how can you be successful if you're this amazing musician, like just in your room playing by yourself, right? Like you have to network, and you have to collaborate, and you have to like learn how to work with people, right? So So that time of my life and living in LA really helped me with that. And, learning how to get out of my shell and just being around people, different people that are like more, as I said, like outgoing, and then kind of showed me like, oh, like, maybe I should be more like this or something like that. So
yeah, like trying to, I guess, like mirror some like certain attitudes like towards a specific situation where you're like, oh, that actually works and it's not that bad. So maybe I can do it and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Like, so definitely like towards the end of like, like mid to end of my studies, like I started doing a lot more social activities and trying to make friends with people. And I also was doing some like part-time work during my studies, like at the school, like on campus. And so I made friends doing that too, like with my coworkers. And so like over time, like I got better and better at it. And and then, before I knew it, it's like I had this whole other like family in LA, right?
Yeah.
A family of friends. So yeah.
Cool. Nice. So it wasn't a like a scary experience, or I guess it was, but maybe just like it just got better.
Yeah. I mean, I was never like super scared. Like
just anxious. Like I don't.
Yeah. Like I was more scared that like that I wasn't going to be good enough as a player.
Oh, okay.
And so like, I was really worried that like I was going to get like my ass kicked or something, but, I wasn't, that wasn't the case. And like, there was like, I was definitely like one of the better students actually in my class. And, there's just like the full gamut of like really, really good players and then like, not so good players. And so it's just, it never felt like that sort of a hostile environment, if you know what I mean? Like feeling like what's that movie where like the drummer gets like heckled by his teacher all the time?
Oh, right.
Like it wasn't
Paco?
it wasn't like that.
Yeah. What Miles? Oh, that's the actor. What's the movie of the drummer that gets heckled by his teacher? Whiplash. Yes.
Yeah. So it
I was like, Paco knows it.
I guess I was scared of like something like that, like just it being like really hardcore and like you're not doing it good enough or something like that. Yeah. But it wasn't like
and
that.
just be like, oh, I want to quit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. At something that you love.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Good. And then so did you stay after like in LA for a while after you finished school, or did you come back right away?
I had to come back right away because my dad was having like some pretty serious health problems, like right after I finished school. So it was like hard for me to be there when that was going on. So I wanted to come back to Canada to just be with my family. And so it was kind of like bittersweet because it was like I wanted to come back and be with my family, but I also didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was several years later, after my dad like recovered and everything, I ended up moving back to LA.
Oh, okay.
In like 2015 or something. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so fairly recent, like not that long ago.
Yeah, not that long ago. So I've lived there like twice, 2 separate times kind of thing.
And how was your second time that you went back? Like now that you had, so between that time, you were already doing like your own projects, and when you went back, was it like, oh, like, it's sort of like I never left, or was it more like
it was, but it was also very different because when I went back, I ended up getting like a work visa, and I I got a job there and I was working full time, and so I wasn't like going to music school and like partying in Hollywood or whatever. Like, so it was much more like, going to work every day.
Like a responsible adult.
Yeah. Like, commuting to work and buying groceries for the week. And like, there's just like a normal person life, But I did play in a band while I was there. I was just trying to remember if there was more than one, but there was definitely like one main band that I played with. I was still gigging and stuff with them. And then, my boyfriend at the time, we also had like a band together. So we were like writing and recording as well, like in between like work and stuff. So I was still like really busy with music, but it was just a little bit of a different vibe. And I wasn't living in Hollywood. I was living in Northridge, which is like in the San Fernando Valley. So it was just more suburban kind of feeling. And yeah, it was just a little different than the first time. But to be honest, like I'm glad that I don't live in Hollywood anymore. So,
And so you started writing music also when you were, you mentioned when you were young, just to say like to feel connected still to music. Do you feel that your writing process changed like during those different stages in your life?
Totally. Yeah. Like it's evolved like so much. And I mean, I think it's probably just going to keep evolving until, whenever I saw, and I think it's the
if you ever stop doing music.
Yeah. Like I think it's the case with any songwriter because like, yeah, you go through like different stages in your life and you just get like better at it. Like it's also like a skill that you can hone. Right. And like, definitely like at the beginning when I first started doing it, especially like with lyric writing, like I think I was really bad at writing lyrics and I was so like embarrassed about my lyrics. So I would like often like write lyrics, but then like in my notebook or whatever, but then I would never like show them to anyone or like even use them because I was just like, oh my God, these are so bad. Like so cheesy or whatever.
Just like scratching them.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So like I would spend a lot of time like studying lyrics like when I first started songwriting and just to get better at like writing lyrics because I felt that was like the weak part. So I would just like listen to music and look up the lyrics and read like what they're saying and just like try to like learn from other people like people that I admired, other songwriters, and just get more creative with it and more like like think of like in more interesting topics and more interesting words and just like anything like my phone is like full of like a million like just voice memos and like notes on my note like thing of like just like random like musical ideas or like lyrical ideas or whatever that like I come up with like just randomly, or maybe I'm like something inspires me at the moment and it's like I have to write it down before I forget. Like that's like I think what a lot of musicians or songwriters end up doing, is just like you never know when the inspirations come. Like you could be like driving to work and then suddenly like an idea comes, and
anyone that felt like a muse. Like a person that was literally a muse that you were like, whenever this person is around, like somehow I feel like inspired, or not that you write about them, just like you feel that inspiration.
Well, definitely my husband now, like he is definitely like 100% my muse. And I was even just telling him the other day that like, like without his support, I wouldn't be like probably doing as much as I'm doing right now because I don't know, like I feel like you're so hard on yourself already, like as musicians, like it's one of those things that you're never gonna be like perfect at it because it's like a lifelong journey and endeavor. There's always more to learn. There's always gonna be someone better than you. It's like kind of like discouraging in a way, like if you're not careful. And so you really need to have you do need to have a muse or like just people to support you, like, your fans or like whatever, like, you hear musicians and artists say like, a lot of the time that, thanking their fans and like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And it's like totally true because that's like the affirmation that you're doing. Like, you can get in your head and be like, oh, like, I don't know if this song is good or like, I suck or whatever, like, there's just, it can just turn, like it can spiral and like whatever. But if you have someone or multiple people is even better.
Because you feel seen.
Yeah.
Like this feeling that I'm writing about is not just mine, but other.
And like, just like, reaffirming you that like this, this song is good or like you sounded great or, like whatever, like you need those, you need that. It's like really important. And so now I have like a person that like is there like all the time. And I didn't always have that like throughout my life. Like there's like, you know, periods of time or whatever, like definitely like my teachers, like my mentors, like were a good source of that. Always being, like I didn't have the whiplash teacher like ever really. I always had teachers that really like supported me and like believed in me and stuff. So that was also huge because like they're also like, you know, sort of
so
like
crazy how it like teachers really do have a like the biggest impact. Not just when you're a kid, like in general.
Yeah. Like they're kind of like the authority, right? And so like if they're telling you that you're doing good or that, you know, you should keep going or they believe in you or whatever, then it has an impact. And that's one of the reasons why I teach now, because I love, like, I want to be able to give to my students, like what my teachers were able to do for me, you know? So
that's so cool. Like, cause I mean, not a lot of people have patience to teach. And I understand that, like, cause it's totally hard. I've been a teacher of like different, not music, of course. I'm not a musician. I always say that in every podcast, just in case you were wondering.
I was wondering, actually. I see the guitar and the keyboard and stuff, so I wasn't sure. But
no, they're just decor. I'm kidding. No, I mean it's starting. It's just we can't really claim we're musicians, not yet. But so I can't really like give it something that it's similar to, but like whenever she's so like
she's obviously the star of this podcast,
yes,
right?
She totally is. But there's like a moment when you're like teaching something, you're giving, you know, explaining something or whatever, and then there's like a specific moment that I love when you can see the face of the other person going like, oh, that just clicked. Like what you said exactly. And like, now that just clicked, now I understand, or now I can, you know, play this chord or whatever. And you're like, yes, like it's like, so like, it feels so good. Like, you know how this seed was just like, boop, it just went in and it like, it's starting to blossom. You're like, yes. So it's really nice. And it's really cool that you found that, you know, because it's also a skill, but you found that way to like give back what you were also given.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's really important because like, you know, they talk about like cutting music in schools and stuff. I'm like, that's the one thing you shouldn't be cutting, because like it, like, not only does it use like every part of your brain, like it's like, you know, like your motor skills, your like math skills, your like emotional part of your brain, you know, like just like everything. And like, so it's a good, like, it's an amazing thing to like teach a person how to do, like, even if they're not going to do it professionally or whatever.
It's still a great outlet for so many other things.
And like like they need to have something fun in school. Like it can't all just be like social studies and math and like whatever else kids
just
are
words.
learning. Yeah. I don't know.
Whatever else they teach them.
I think it's important, but I'm obviously biased.
I mean, yes, but also no, I'm not a musician, for example, and I'm pretty sure it's not a good thing to, you know, reduce music or take out music.
Or just like any arts, like, you know, like
exactly.
Like they need to have something like that in school.
Sure. Something creative. Yeah. Like or all of the creative stuff. Yeah. Not just one thing. You know? So, well, it's so cool that you're also teaching now. Have you had one specific experience that you were like, wow, this was like the best lesson I've ever had? Cause like, it felt so good. Like, I don't know. You
like that I taught or that?
Yeah. Or both. Yeah.
Okay.
Cause I guess it is very different.
Yeah, it's
like when you have that moment of like, oh, I was trying so hard to get this or that. Yeah. And then the same when you're like trying to, and you're like, I don't know how to like break through this. And then
that even actually happened earlier today. Like I told you,
I had a lesson, right? Yeah.
And I was trying to teach my student something, and it's just like, it's like trying to find a way to explain it to them so that they get it. So like, you just have to try like different ways. Like, you know, like the first time I explained it to her and she wasn't getting it. So then I tried it a different way, and I'm like, she still wasn't getting it. And I'm like, okay, like, let's just like put the bass down. Like, we're not going to use the bass. Like, let's just like, she was having trouble with a rhythm. So I was like, let's just clap the rhythm out. Right.
Oh.
So sometimes that helps, is like, you just get rid of the instrument. It's like too many things to think about. Right.
Yeah.
So if you remove like one of the things, then it's like, okay, now she can really focus on the rhythm. She doesn't have to worry about her fingers or, you know, the frets or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like, you know, that way, even then it was like, okay, like she still wasn't quite getting it. But then like over time, like, by the end of the lesson, like she was clapping the rhythm, and I was like, yes, you got it. And like, it feels like so satisfying, like also as a teacher, because I'm like, finally, like I wouldn't want her to like leave the like, I hate
feel discouraged.
Yeah, or just like leave the lesson and not have her get it, you know? Like, yeah, like, so I always try to like find a way, you know, to like break it down to them so that they can absorb what it is that I'm trying to show them. And yeah, so those instances come up like all the time with teaching. Yeah. And I mean, like for me, like with my teachers, like, I mean, there's been so many of those moments too, like, because I've had a lot of different teachers that have been like studying music since I was like 8, right? And even to this day, like I still take like lessons on, like I've been learning guitar, and it's just like one of those things that I don't know, I like to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can tell.
Yeah. Well, like I originally moved to Vancouver too, so to pursue my PhD. So that was like, if that's any indication of how much I like to learn. But then I didn't end up doing it, which I'm kind of happy about. But yeah, like when I was in LA, just like they had all these things called live playing workshops at the school that I went to, which were just like basically all the students and the teachers would like get up on stage and like play songs together. And sometimes it would be really last minute, like, because they were just happening all the time, and they were all different genres. So they had like a metal live playing workshop and like an R&B one and like a country one and jazz and everything. And so sometimes like I would prepare for those, and like, you know, you find out like a week in advance like what songs they're gonna do so you can practice them. But then other times I would just like be like, oh, I like that song, and I just like go and like try to like wing it, you know?
Yeah. And
like both experiences are like really good, like practice, like for a musician. And so just like, yeah, like getting to do some of those live playing workshops and getting to play with like some of my my teachers who are like amazing musicians. And there was a fusion live playing workshop that I did for a while with this teacher. He would bring his own music in, and so we would like basically sight read like his charts, and like his music was like really crazy, and it had like a lot of odd time signatures in it and stuff. So it's just like fun, you know, like it's like that is the environment that you can do those things in. And if you make mistakes, like that's where like you do it.
Fine.
Yeah. It's not like a actual gig. Like, of course you try to do your best and whatever, and that's what I always tell my students, because sometimes my students, like, they'll make mistakes or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, sorry, or whatever. And I'm like, no, like, this is where you're supposed to be doing that. Like, I don't expect you to, like, play it perfectly at the lesson. Like, that's why you're taking the lesson. Like, so, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I mean, I'm probably guilty of also, like, you know, asking for forgiveness in, like, something that I'm not supposed to. Like when you're being taught something, you're like, I'm sorry. And it's like, well, I am being taught, like, I'm actually paying to make a mistake now, and it's fine. Like it's when I'm supposed to make a mistake. If like, but as you said, like it's not something that you're looking for. You're not looking to make mistakes, but like it's fine if it happens. And then, so going back to your songwriting and like this, you know, how it has evolved during your life. Did you always pick out the bass to start songwriting, or do you never? Like, what's the instrument that you go to when you're writing something? Or does it just depend on?
Yeah, it varies. Like, I do use my bass a lot because it's the instrument I'm like the most familiar with. But I wrote a lot of songs on piano as well, because I did, you know, study piano for like 5 years. And so like when I have access to a piano, then I will usually use that to write, like in addition to like the bass.
Yeah.
We don't really have a piano at our place right now. We just have like a MIDI keyboard. So these days, instead of piano, I've been using guitar a lot to write with. And so my main things would be like guitar and bass. But then I also use like just like, you know, a DAW, like, you know, like loops and samples and do a lot of like sound design stuff. So I'll find like things around the house or like while I'm out and about or whatever, and I'll like record them. Like I am like also a sound artist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like part of it too, is like
designing the sound that you want to. Yeah,
exactly. And like, so getting creative that way, and also vocals, right? Like you can do a lot of things with vocals too. Like you can create pads, or you can, you know, like layer vocals and create like chords and things like that. So
like that popular song from Makaba.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's the girl does the artist. I forgot her name. Sorry. But she does a ooh.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, ooh. Like, sorry, I'm not. I
like
don't
through
sing.
the whole song.
Through the whole song, and it's just like on the back. But it's like it's so cool. It sounds so cool. Yeah, it's like super crazy. And I saw a video of her like doing the whole sample and like going back and forth to doing that sound, and it's just like crazy. It's really cool. Yesterday, actually, there was a girl playing she was like looping and doing some like vocal sounds, making it part of her song at Guilt. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, she was very quiet.
Yeah,
like she just like powered through like song after song after song. And I was like, oh, I feel like maybe she's nervous, or maybe she's just like not really like talkative. But she was really good. She played really, 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 really cool.
Nice.
And she did a lot of that also. So it's like, it's cool to witness it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's like, it's cool. And you have that voice, like very like smooth and nice, and like that you can just sort of like, I guess like also put on like, like on the back side of the song, but also like make it a base of the whole like vibe of a song.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, what's your favorite genre to play, since you've played many genres, and what's your hardest? Like, what's the one that you're like, oh, this is just really hard now?
Yeah, I don't think I have a favorite. Like, that's like hard. I mean, like I told you about the Motown band that I grew up playing, so I definitely have like a soft spot for like R&B soul kind of thing, and like I play in an Afro soul band, and so I really enjoy playing that kind of music, and I feel like I have been playing that kind of music for a long time. So, but I mean, like I love jazz, I love rock. I've played in a country band before, a long time ago. Like world music, different like, you know, Latin or, but yeah, some things that are hard. Well, I mean, jazz can be hard, like depending on like the tempo and like how many chord changes there are and stuff. But I mean, really like any genre can be hard. Like, you know, like even some of the stuff like that we do in my band, like the, you know, the different rhythms, like the Afro-Cuban rhythms and stuff like that. Sometimes those things can be tricky. And I mean, like, I don't know. It's hard to say that like one genre is like the harder, hardest, like, cause I mean, like they can all be hard depending on like how you make them.
Like the song and like, okay.
But, yeah.
You're like,
I haven't played that much metal though. So like, I don't know, maybe that would be hard because I'm not very familiar with it. Yeah. Like I listen to metal and stuff, but I haven't really played that much of it. I've never like been in like a metal band. So
yeah. Okay. And I know you're also a session musician. Do you find like, is it different playing like being called for a session musician and being called for like a gig of someone else's band. Like, oh, I just need you to, you know, learn these songs and we're going to have a gig here. And session musician being a session musician at, you know, like the studio.
Oh, like versus live or in the studio. Yeah, I mean, they're completely different. Like with the studio, like with live, like I'm actually kind of going through that process right now because I'm starting to play with a new group that they've like hired me to play some gigs with them coming up here this weekend and whatnot. And so with live music, like I feel like you have to practice it a lot more because, well, at least for me, like I want to get it to the point where like it's almost like second nature, so that when I'm performing it live, like it's second nature and I can kind of relax and, you know, I know the song kind of like inside and out and, you know, and I feel like that helps with like sort of
the
gelling.
whole flow.
Yeah. Like just like gelling with the other artists and just like making sure everyone feels comfortable. Like if you feel comfortable, they're going to feel comfortable kind of thing. And whereas like with recording, you don't have to do it quite to that level because you're in a recording studio and you can take multiple takes, right? So if you make a mistake or something, like you can just redo it, but you cannot do that live. So, you know, like I'll still spend time. And I guess like when it's for recording, like I spend more time trying to like think of ideas for like the recording. Like, so if it's for bass, then I'm trying to think of like ideas for the bass line and like how can I complement the song with my bass playing. And I mean, I do that to a certain extent with live stuff too, but like with live, like it's not being recorded. So you're not kind of trying to make like almost like a product, like for the recording that is then becomes like etched in, you know, stone, so to speak. And then lives, you know, that it lives there forever on the record. So you spend more time thinking about like that sort of stuff and like and like less time like just trying to really absorb the song to the point of like being second nature, because you don't really need to do that like for recording. I mean, it's still nice if you can and if you have the time and whatever, but I think it's like more crucial to do that for live. And then it also just depends on like the live gig. Like sometimes I play like jazz gigs, and so if I'm doing those, then a lot of times like I'm just using like charts, like the real book to play the gig. So I don't need to spend again like a ton of time like practicing the songs. It's more like if I'm trying to learn another artist's material, then I want to like try to understand the artist and make sure that I have the right vibe and like that I'm you know, because like like you're basically trying to contribute to their vision and their vibe and their, you know, brand and everything like that. So you got to try to like figure out how to do that. And it's different every time because everyone's different, right? So
wow.
Yeah.
And I know you were this year in Germany, in Berlin, receiving an award.
I was doing an artist residency there.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was kind of like an award because I got a grant in order to do that.
Okay.
I was awarded a grant to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was your residency there?
It was really good. It was like, so basically like in Vancouver, not too far from here on East Hastings, there's a spatial sound studio called Lobe. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's like really close to your place. And Lobe Spatial Sound Studio. And they are a spatial sound studio that has a technology called 4D sound. And so their sister studio is in Berlin. Where I went. And that studio in Berlin is called Monom, and it's also a spatial sound studio that uses 4D sound. So I did a residency at Lobe, I think in like 2021 during the pandemic. And when I finished that, I ended up like presenting my piece or whatever. And then Lobe kind of like recommended me to do a residency at Monom. So they kind of like put me in touch with them. And then because I was there's another spatial sound studio in Budapest called, I think it's just called the Spatial Sound Institute or something.
Okay.
And so all of these 3 studios are like kind of connected, and they all use the same technology. But the one in Budapest, I didn't get to go to because of the pandemic, and everything kind of got like screwed up. And then I think they like stopped doing residencies and like whatever. So when I explained this to Loeb, they were like, oh, well, like we'll just recommend you to this other studio in Berlin. And so I ended up sort of like transferring to the Berlin one. And then, I was there for 2 weeks. And so every day I was at the studio, like working on a piece, and I was working on like an underwater soundscape kind of thing.
Oh,
and
I feel like the music scene in Berlin is like very crazy.
It is. It's very more, it's like electronic.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like different. Just like different culture, different, city, everything. A little bit of a culture shock at times. But yeah, like a really cool experience. There's so much like cool history there, like war history and stuff. I went on like some tours of like prisons and like bomb shelters and like different things in Berlin. And there's a lot going on there. So there was a lot to do. I definitely did not like see everything.
Yeah, even it is very big.
It's big, and there's like there's like a million art galleries. And like I went to some art galleries too, and like I tried to do a little bit of everything, but definitely like I was there for 2 weeks, and it's like not enough. Like it's like so. And then after that, after I finished my residency, I ended up going to Amsterdam for like a few days just to like be a tourist and hang out before I came back to Canada. So that was actually really cool too, because Amsterdam is very pretty.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's very like, pretty. Yeah. And did you come back like inspired in a different way to like write or design new signs? New sounds, new signs.
I did. Yeah. Like my goal now is like, I want to present what I created at Monum at Loeb. And so that's kind of like my next task is applying for funding for that and like getting that organized. Probably in the new year, hopefully I can present there. And then after that, like I'm not sure, like there is a festival in Victoria that it's like sort of like a new media festival, like in sound art kind of festival. They contacted me about my piece, and I think they were maybe interested in having it presented there. But the problem is that, like I mentioned, it uses this 4D sound technology, and that technology is like kind of like, it's like proprietary, and like you only like certain studios have it.
Okay.
So if I wanted to present my work elsewhere aside from like at a 4D sound studio, I would have to like basically get it like remixed to like a different sound system, which is fine. It's totally doable. It just takes time. And it wouldn't be the same experience because 4D sound is like very immersive. It's like there's,
how does it like?
Yeah, there's speakers like all like in the walls and the ceiling and like in the floor. So it's like, it's very immersive, and you can move the sounds around the room, or you can move them like vertically up and down.
So you were recording at a place where there's, or how does it work?
So basically like you have to kind of like compose whatever you're making like in the room, because like
so you can design it as like
exactly. Okay. So like you're basically like you're in a room, you're in the studio, and you have your computer and your desk and whatever, and you're sitting in the space, and then so as you're writing it, you're deciding like where to put the sounds and how the sounds will like interact with each other. And like, like I mentioned, I did like an underwater soundscape. So like I have like some whales over here making some noise, and then I have something over here. And so it's like a whole like soundscape. And so you can't really do it unless you're there. Like you can't, for example, if like I was to sit here and like try to compose something for that space, like I really need to be there. I need to be in that space so I can hear how the sounds are moving and how they interact and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so crazy. Wow. I'm trying to figure out like, I can't imagine. And then because I'm an overthinker, so I would imagine myself just being like here, no, or maybe here, no, maybe I should put it here, no, maybe I should have the sound over here and just like move it, or maybe I should move this way, or maybe and just be like super overwhelmed, like this is like way too much.
Yeah, I mean the possibilities are
Infinite.
endless.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Wow, but that's so cool. And I also wanted to ask you, I'm starting every question with "and." I wanted to ask you, because I'm very curious about this. How did you end up being like one of the like designers of the curriculum for the Fender Play app? So for everyone who has a Fender Play app.
Yeah. So remember how I said that like a lot of those connections I made in school like brought me to opportunities. So like one of my really good like friends now, who was my classmate when I was in music school, and he ended up getting a job with Fender. Two of my friends from school actually got jobs with Fender, because Fender is located in Hollywood. It's right down the street from the school. And one of them still works there. But anyways, so like my friend like recommended me to do the bass curriculum when they were just starting up Fender Play. So it was totally random. Like I got a call one day from my friend, and he left me a voicemail, and he was like, hey, like I might have this like gig for you, like call me back right away, whatever. So I called him, and like he told me, and at that time I was actually like moving back to I was moving back to Canada like the next week or something. Okay. So like I was living in LA, but I was moving back to Canada to pursue my master's degree.
This was the second time or first time?
Second time. Okay. Yeah. And so, you know, I was just kind of like finishing up everything, tying up loose ends there. And my friend like calls me up, and he's like, hey, I have this gig for you. And I was like, oh my God, like I have to like try to get this gig, even though I'm like moving.
Yeah.
So I met with like Fender, you know, before I left, I set up like a meeting, and we got things going. And so I actually did that job like remotely from Canada, because
cool.
I was able to do it. I was able to still move and do that. And so yeah, like I did go down to LA like a few times to like, you know, be there and
just
in
details
person.
And
yeah, but for the most part I was doing it from Canada, so I was really fortunate that it all worked out and that I was able to do that. And yeah, it was such an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, you're even even if you stop giving lessons, you'll still be a teacher like somehow. It's like, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Have you had any like feedback from random people be like, oh my God, like Fender Play, and you're like, oh, I actually designed that? Like,
yeah. So Fender Play, like when I worked for them, like I signed like an non-disclosure agreement. Yeah. So like all of the, you know, curriculum is like Fender's curriculum and whatever. So like, no, you know, my name isn't on any of it or whatever. It's not like by Kaitie Sly or something. So most people don't know, right? But unless they tell them or like whatever. But yeah, so it's basically just like the people that I know, they know that I did that. And yeah, they're like, good job or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's not like it made me famous or something. So yeah. Yeah. If I become like a teacher for them, because they also have teachers teaching like video lessons on the site.
Yeah.
And that was actually something that we spoke about. But again, I was in Canada, and like their video studio is in like Hollywood. So it would have been like really like
hard to
awkward. Like, to figure it out. So so they ended up getting like other people to teach the lessons and whatnot. But yeah.
Wow. How are you now? Not how are you? You are playing usually, or like a lot with Serengeti, with the Afro Soul band.
Yeah.
And I did also see, I wanted to ask you about earlier when you mentioned the voice notes. There's a video of a voice note. But is that Sadie having like a voice note on your Instagram, or is it you?
Oh, that's Shade. Yeah.
Shade.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's we're releasing a new single soon. And that was like when we were writing it.
So, okay.
Yeah.
But is it her or is it you?
It's all of us, but she's the one that's like singing.
Okay. Do you have like a group chat or whatever where you're like bouncing like back and forth, just like ideas?
We were during the pandemic because we were like still trying to be a band and we weren't allowed to like, you know, be
a band.
Yeah. So we were doing a lot of that during the pandemic, like sending ideas, you know, across the internet or whatever. But now, we definitely prefer to like meet in person and like hash things out. So we usually do that, meet in person.
Did you grow like any kind of like habit during the pandemic that still sort of made its way like out of it? Like now that you're like, well, there's no pandemic anymore and I'm still doing what I used to when I was.
Yeah. I mean, like I still teach some online lessons. That was like something that was started from the pandemic. And I mean, working remotely is like something that I still do for the most part. And I feel like that was, you know, because of the pandemic, everyone just kind of became really chill about working from home and whatever. Because I work part-time for a music education company in Abbotsford. They're called Musora, but one of their biggest products is Drumeo, if you've heard of it. It's also like online music classes and stuff like that. So So when I do that, I'm just doing it like at home, and that's made things a lot more realistic as a musician because you know, pre-pandemic, it's like everyone wants you to like work in the office and they want you to work like set hours and like da da da. And so it's very difficult for a musician where your life is like chaos all the time. Yeah. And, you know, one week is like 1 week after the other is never the same, right? Yeah, like it's always
different gigs, different places, different like people, everything.
Yeah, like for example, like this week I'm going to Regina. Last week I was in Kamloops, like, you know, so it's just all over the map. And so to have a job now after the pandemic that is like flexible and like you can work from home and you can set your own hours and stuff like that, like as long as you get the work done, like that's all that matters. So that's just like huge because that actually allows me to do what I do and to be a musician. And before that, it was like very difficult. You know, I had to like turn a lot of gigs down or like, you know, I just couldn't make it work, or I would piss off my employee because I'd be like missing work or whatever. Yeah. So like, yeah, it's really tricky to be a musician and like kind of find
that sweet spot.
Yeah, like work that you can do. Like I know other musicians that like they do more like they pick up shifts like here and there, like so they can kind of work again like around their crazy schedule and whatever. But so it's and teaching of course is a huge one for musicians to supplement their income. Yeah, like a lot of musicians teach, and I happen to really like teaching, so I don't mind doing that as well and helping. I feel like it's almost like my duty or something to like, you know, like help and inspire and almost like make sure that the next generation of like musicians are like, it's going to happen. Right. Like I would not want that to not happen, or, you know, like people, especially with like technology and stuff, like, you know, I still want people to be able to play instruments, like, you know, like, and not just like do everything with like AI or like computers or something. Like, it's still nice to hear
how that like craftsmanship.
Yeah, like to hear a guitar or to hear, you know, someone who's really good at an instrument. It's just nice. So I don't know. I'm just rambling now, but
no, I feel you're right. Like, I feel like I guess you can tell whenever there's live music, like the reaction of people just being like, oh my God, that is like insane. It's always very different with people like reacting to live music being played than just, you know, putting on a record.
Yeah.
Because it's just like you're actually witnessing how, you know, that sound is made.
Yeah.
So it's just
and like you forget like how talented these people. Like I went to a concert on Saturday at the Rogers Arena, and like just it was just like so like unbelievable. Like everyone was so talented, and like they had like a lot of visual stuff too as part of the show, and it's just like the amount of work and like it's very inspiring. Like you're just like, holy cow, like wow, like this is amazing. Like these people exist. Like they almost seem like superhuman, right?
Yeah,
like,
is this real?
Like when you see live music, a lot of times it seems like superhuman, like even me watching like my friends or whatever, because they spend like time preparing that show, right? And so, you know, like you think like, wow, they're so talented, but they've spent like hours and hours and hours like perfecting that or whatever. But at the time, like when you see it, it almost seems like they're like superhuman.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like people like, you know, see that, like it could even be the same like when I'm performing with my band, like maybe people are like, oh my God, or whatever. Like,
yeah, honestly, I mean, I feel like in general, like, well, good musicians, whenever you see them, like, first of all, you can tell. Second of all, there's always a moment, and not just like, oh, when, you know, like classic, like, oh, they did a solo. Like, I feel like that moment is when everyone's like, oh my God, that was insane. But there's also like other, like, you know, bits here and there, like during a song that's just like, that was like impeccable. And like, you can hear sort of and feel it like around the crowd, people just being like, wow, and just like, you know, or just like yelling like, wow, like, yeah. Cause it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy to see it. And you're like, that was insane. I don't know, like I don't know how to play, but I can tell right away that was just like insane. That was like crazy.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you see like an Olympic athlete, like doing like crazy,
exactly.
like running, like, I don't know, ridiculously fast.
Exactly.
And it's like, they're superhuman, like, right. It's like kind of the same thing, but it's the same thing with the athlete, right? Like they've spent so many hours, like their entire life, like training for that event. Like they have like a trainer, they're done, like whatever. It's just like endless how much work they put into it. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like this spectacle that almost doesn't seem like possible.
Yeah, you're like, why? How is this? Like, I also have fingers, and I also, I think I have rhythm. Like, how does, like, why can't I do that? And it's like, how are they doing that? So yeah, like, you're right. Yeah.
Lots and lots of work.
Yeah. And so you're releasing this new songs with Serengeti. And are they like your main like gig right now, like your band right now? You also have your own project.
Yeah, no, I'm playing in I mentioned I started playing with a new group, and that I'm going to like Regina this weekend with them. Okay. So I've started playing with them. I have some like gigs coming up. I also play like some jazz gigs sometimes with this jazz pianist in town, and we have some gig in November. And then I also play sometimes for a group called Blackbird Radio. It's like a rock soul kind of music.
Okay.
And yeah, so like between all of them, and sometimes I get random gigs too. You know, like a little while ago, an artist wanted me to play bass on her single or whatever. You know, like those type of things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice because.
So you're in like what, 5 bands right now?
I don't even. Yeah. Yeah, and then my own music. I do have my own music, and I've been recording it. And the thing is, like when you're this like busy playing for other people, like your own stuff kind of gets pushed to the side, right? So I'm trying really hard to like not let that happen, and to like keep, you know, chipping away at it. Because I'm also in the midst of recording an EP, and I want to start playing more shows with my music. Like I have been doing shows, but just like more. And, you know, because these different projects, like they kind of ebb and flow. Like with Serengeti, like we're usually like super busy in the summer with like festivals and stuff. Okay. And a lot, I mean, summer for musicians is like the gold mine. Like there's just so much more going on in the summer. So like, you know, that busy period just kind of like ended, you know, recently. And so now I'm starting up, as I said, with this other group. So they kind of, like I said, they kind of ebb and flow. So like that thing is kind of like dying down a bit. And then this thing is now ramping up. And so there's always like, you know, something to fill your time with. Right. And like I said, if I had more free time, I'd be working on my own stuff. So, you know, a lot of time in the winter months, like things do die down a bit or whatever. So if that happens, and, you know, kind of, I'm almost like crossing my fingers that it does, then I will, you know, spend more time working on my stuff and trying to keep that going. And, but yeah, we'll just see how it goes. 'Cause like I said, every week, changes. Every month is different. Like I I already I'm starting to plan things out for next year. So like, yeah, next January, I'm going to Ireland to play some gigs, and like, you know, so like I'm starting to plan and things out. Like you start getting gigs, like kind of like you get gigs like well in advance, and then sometimes you get some that are like more last minute or something too. So it's just like, yeah, it's just like always changing, and it's kind of as long as you like that. Like,
yeah, exactly. That
like,
I mean, I feel like probably like you better. It's like it's always interesting.
Yeah,
it's not like.
But some people,
you know,
like just like, you know, stable
routine.
like routine. Yeah. And I do,
Yeah,
and I know that that's also good for you. And so like I do try to have a routine when I'm not you
under
know,
all the
like I, you know, like as much as I can, like I try to like, you know, keep like the similar schedule every day, and you know, as much as I can. So like today, for example, is going to be a bit different schedule because I'm here, and I'm going to get back a little bit later and stuff. So it just happens. And but it's good for your body, I think, to kind of have like a routine, right?
Yeah.
So I try to
So
do
they
that.
say, I don't know if they're just trying to like make us into these like molds of like the working class that just, you know, I don't know.
It could be.
Which,
Who knows?
yeah, it's like it could be also that, but, you know, like that's why routines are good. And it's like, well, but are they though? Because they don't leave enough room for creativity, and like because creativity is just like random and like
Yeah, but you could also have
it's-
like a routine of creativity. Like you could say like every day for like an hour, I'm gonna just like noodle on my guitar. You know?
Yeah, that's true. But that's more like to have a discipline. I don't know if it's like. I don't know. I guess it changes. It varies. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, you do have to be disciplined and like regimented, I think, a bit as a musician, like especially if you want to like make progress and get better. Like you do have to set aside time to practice, and you have to set aside time to like, you know,
learn and
and like marketing. Like there's just so many things, like, you know, there's the whole like promoting yourself thing, which is like something that I'm not as good at, but some musicians are really good at it. But it's also part of the job. Like you have to like promote yourself, and you have to be on social media like 24/7, like posting everything about your life. And like that's why I don't like it, because I just like but yeah,
it's
like
too much.
Yeah, but it's like some people will literally say like you have to do that in order to be. And then there's other musicians that don't have social media at all, and they're gigging like all the time, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I think it just depends on like the generation, and like what kind of music like you're doing, and like what instrument you're playing, and like a lot of different factors.
Yeah, that's true. I think Dave Grohl said once, I don't know how he said it, but it was something like the best way to like have your music like heard is not necessarily like, he was sort of implying like it's not necessarily like social media.
Yeah.
Like it's more like just play, like workshop it, like play it live. That way you can know if it works or not.
Totally.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, that is a whole, you know, goal of a musician, you know?
Yeah.
So when's your next show? Of your own, like your own project?
My own music?
Yeah.
I don't have anything scheduled right now.
Okay.
But like I mentioned that I like moved recently to out. And so like now that I'm like in that area, like I'm trying to like get connected in like sort of that community for music stuff. And like I'm trying to do that with like my own music. So yeah, I was talking to a couple guys like today about booking some stuff. So yeah, there could be something coming up soon and on the horizon, because just in the midst of it. And like the other thing was like when we moved to the Fraser Valley, we got married. Like my husband and I, we got married a month ago, actually.
Oh, wow.
Like almost exactly a month. Yeah, thank you. So we were like, you know, neck deep in all of that, like planning the wedding and like getting it together and everything. So it was a little bit of a whirlwind the last few months, like moving and then getting married and trying to do all like my gigs for the summer. And so things are finally like slowing down a bit. And so I have finally like some time to like record my own music and like start looking for networking in this new area, you know, and just trying to connect with musicians out there. And because a lot of the musicians that I play with are like in Vancouver, which is fine, like, and I don't mind coming and stuff, but like I might as well just, you know,
start your own.
And just like keep meeting new people, because there's tons of stuff going on out there too. There's stuff going on everywhere nowadays. So it's exciting, and I'm excited to meet some new people, some new folk.
When you were at your wedding, did you have a live band?
We did, actually. And
were you like dancing and then just be like, you're on the wrong notes?
No, because the band that we got was amazing. And it's actually the band that I am playing with this weekend.
Oh, cool.
And I sat in on a couple songs with them at our wedding, which was really cool.
Oh, nice.
And we actually had like a jam at the end of the wedding.
Oh, cool.
So, because like so many of our like guests were like musicians
as well,
So we just had like a very like informal jam, and it was really fun. Like we definitely wanted music, because my husband's also a musician. We wanted music to be like a big part of the wedding. So
cool. Yeah. And you mentioned you were going to Ireland. Have you ever been to Ireland?
I haven't.
Okay, so it's like the music scene is also like just crazy there.
Yeah.
It's so lovely and so like vibrant, and I don't know. It's really, really, really like fun.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's like really, really fun. So if you go like pub crawling, it's gonna be like amazing. You're definitely gonna have the greatest time.
So awesome.
Hopefully you can get on stage or something, like where you just jam with somebody. If you get to know somebody. Over there, and just
that'd
be
be
like,
fun. I do know a couple Irish musicians that are like now living here.
Cool.
But yeah, they're from Ireland originally, so maybe they could connect me with some
that would be
people.
really cool. It would probably be like a really, you know, like fun and cool experience.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. This was really fun.
Yeah,
you were a very, very busy woman, like insanely busy.
Yeah.
I was reading, like when I was reading about it, I was just like, wow. Like, when does she sleep? Like, this is just crazy.
Yeah.
But this was really fun. I really hope you get out your EP soon then.
Yes.
And you really try to
year.
work. Okay. So not that far away.
That's the goal. I was going to say that's the plan, but it's probably more of a goal than a plan. Anyways.
You'll make it work.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Hopefully your husband can still contribute to being your muse.
Oh, yeah.
And just to, you know, push you to
he
finish
will.
it. Yeah. Nice.
He will.
Okay. So he's got a job to do.
Oh, yeah.
So it was really fun to have you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.